You're listening to WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia, home of Braves Country with Mac Magee and the Armchair Quarterbacks, weekdays, 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern, right here on The Key and YouTube.com at Braves Country. Braves Country today. We're talking Southern sports. We go live 3 to 5 weekdays right here on WQEE. Braves Country today. Southern sports talk with the voice of Braves Country baseball, Mac Magee. Joined every day from sports analysts from all over Braves Country, talking college football, the NFL, Major League Baseball, and what's trending in the world of sports. Braves Country today. We go live 3 to 5 weekdays right here on WQEE.
It all starts with just one thing. Glass jars can be reused to store food and spices, as a holder for combs and brushes in the bathroom, or as a container for plants and homemade candles, in addition to simply being recycled. Find tips and more at onethingus.com.
Hey folks, this is Mark White with The Mark White Show, and you can tune in to The Mark White Show every Saturday from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. right here on Rock 99, WQEE The Key, the home of Southern sports and talk.
I'm Amy Lawrence, and I'm up late, always, after hours, hanging out with you on CBS Sports Radio. Check it out, 2 a.m. Eastern, 11 p.m. Pacific.
Enjoy sun-drenched days, epic stays, and plenty of room to roam in Greater Fort Lauderdale. Our hotels, attractions, and restaurants have taken the Visit Lauderdale's Safe and Clean pledge, so you can relax and explore with confidence. When you're ready for that well-deserved staycation, our 23 miles of golden beaches await. Find wide-open spaces to hike, bike, kayak, and paddleboard. Visit your favorite attractions, then dine out in style in dining rooms or al fresco on waterfront patios. Learn more at sunny.org.
Braves Country today. We're talking Southern sports. We go live 3 to 5 weekdays right here on WQEE. Braves Country today. Southern sports talk with the voice of Braves Country baseball, Mac Magee. Joined every day from sports analysts from all over Braves Country, talking college football, the NFL, Major League Baseball, and what's trending in the world of sports. Braves Country today. We go live 3 to 5 weekdays right here on WQEE. Armchair Quarterback Radio is AFC South Country, all NFL season long.
They hand it off Fournette. He's driving, and he's in for the touchdown. Wow!
Drive starts at the 1 and looking for a little breathing room, and they get that and plenty more. Derrick Henry still going. Stays in bounds. He might go. 99 yards for the touchdown. Unbelievable. 2nd and 10. Empty set. Walk downfield. And that is Hilton again. 1st and goal. Ebron. What a year for him. Eric Ebron. Touchdown. Colts.
Slant. Caught. Touchdown. Marquise Lee. And he punched the ball into the stands.
Deep. And he's got it. Keelan Cole. Touchdown, Jacksonville.
Stay locked in to the AFC South on Armchair Quarterback Radio.
Here's good news. There's still a need for hundreds of thousands of cybersecurity professionals in the U.S. right now. And My Computer Career is training people to help meet the demand. No IT experience? No problem. Take the free career evaluation today. Start your new life as an IT pro in as little as 4 months. Grants covering up to 53% of the cost are available to those who qualify. It's not rocket science. It's mycomputercareer.edu.
Are you looking for a reliable dental practice that not only cares about your teeth, but is friendly to work with? How about one that offers great deals and new patient promotions? Well, your search is over. Most Valuable Smiles in downtown Eatonton, Georgia is committed to giving you the biggest and brightest smile. Right now, get a $99 new patient special, including x-rays and exam. Maybe you're looking for veneers. Most Valuable Smiles veneer special includes 1 free veneer with every 5 purchased. Or get that bright white smile you've always wanted by taking advantage of an exclusive $100 off Zoom whitening treatment when you book today. And don't forget that 2022 is almost over. That means most insurance policies will reset by the new year, and to avoid losing that extra money, you need to use it or lose it. Book an appointment today with Most Valuable Smiles in downtown Eatonton to lock in these exclusive deals. Call 706-623-0318 or visit mostvaluablesmiles.com.
Hey, sports fans, it's Rod Peterson here, host of The Rod Peterson Show, inviting you to join us daily for 2 hours of Atlanta's funnest sports talk right here on WQEE. I say fun because it is. You've never heard a show like it because we make the listeners a part of the show every day between noon and 2 p.m. Eastern. You'll hear plenty of the best sports talk, including the latest on the Falcons, the Braves, and more. And who knows, you might even hear you. That's the Rod Peterson Show, daily at noon, right here on WQEE 99.1 FM.
Hey, Braves Country! Braves Country HD is bringing you Braves Country Baseball. Braves Country comes to you every Tuesday night and Friday night and 2 bonus games every week. Hi, I'm Mac Magee. We'll be bringing you play-by-play, pitch-by-pitch of your Atlanta Braves. It's free to listen. Please like and subscribe. YouTube.com/@Braves Country. Braves Country Baseball for the fans, by the fans.
It all starts with just one thing. When recycling, rinse out jars and cans, and avoid recycling waxed paper or paper soiled with food. This will reduce recycling contamination. Find tips and more at onethingus.com. What's your one thing?
It's the best in sports and entertainment, and get locked in and locked down with Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. with your host, me, Ryan O'Neill, each and every morning, right here with the best in sports and entertainment, all the way from professional sports to college sports to River Dragons hockey and everything in between, including some of the very best local and national guests. It's the Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Monday through Friday, right here on 99.1 FM WQEE.
Hey, sports fans. Weekdays, 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern. Drive time on WQEE. Braves Country is a Southern sports talk show with Mac Magee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. That's Braves Country with Mac Magee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. Weekdays, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. right here on WQEE 99.1 FM. You're listening to WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia.
Armchair. You're listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Radio, #1 sports station.
Good afternoon, and this is your Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Flash. Here are your standings in Major League Baseball. Heading in to the middle of June, we're just 3 weeks away from the All-Star break. All teams are anywhere between 72 to 75 games in, so it's just a little under a half of the season. In the American League East, the Tampa Bay Rays lead Baltimore 5 games. The Rays are 51-24, best record in baseball. They have a 10.5 game lead over the Yanks, 11 over Toronto. Boston is 12.5 back, but on a 4-game winning streak after sweeping their arch rivals over the weekend. In the AL Central, the Minnesota Twins lead the Guardians by 2.5 and up on the Tigers by 5. White Sox 5.5, Kansas City way back 16.5 out. AL West, Rangers 4.5 over the Angels at 44-27. They're 5.5 in front of Houston, who starts the series against the New York Mets tonight. Mariners 8.5 back, Oakland Athletics 26.5 out. In the National League East, your Atlanta Braves 5 games in front of the Miami Marlins. Atlanta is 46-26. 3 games in front of Arizona for the best record in the National League. Behind the Braves in the East, Philly, 8 games out. Atlanta and the Phillies will start a 3-game set tomorrow night. We'll have all 3 games, pitch by pitch, play by play, right here on Braves Country HD. The New York Mets are 12.5 out. Washington Nationals, 18 back. National League Central, they're locked up in a tight one. Milwaukee Brewers are a half game in front of the Reds, who are on an 8-game winning streak. The Reds are hosting the Rockies this week. Then they get set for a 3-game series in Cincinnati versus your Atlanta Braves. Pirates 2.5 back of the Brewers. Cubs just 4 out. St. Louis Cardinals 8.5 games out, sitting in the cellar of the NL Central. They're 14 games under 500. Arizona Diamondbacks are leading the West. They have a 3.5 game lead on the San Francisco Giants, who are on a 7-game winning streak and are coming off a sweep in Los Angeles of the Dodgers. Dodgers 4 back of Arizona. San Diego 7.5 back as they won the series versus the Tampa Bay Rays in Cali this weekend. The Colorado Rockies have lost 5 in a row, including a 4-game sweep in Atlanta. They're 15 back in the NL West. Got a smaller slate here in Major League Baseball on a Monday afternoon. It gets going 4:05 Eastern, Cardinals versus Nationals. We'll keep you up to date on the scores as the show rolls along. 6:40 tonight, Braves Country is hoping that Toronto can cool off the Marlins. It's Jose Berrios versus Hoeing. Toronto minus 160 on the money line. Miami Marlins have won 4 in a row, 7 of their last 10. At 8:10 Eastern, Mets at the Astros. Max Scherzer versus Hunter Brown. Should be a good one. Houston is minus 115 over under 7.5. Royals at the Tigers at 6:40. Jordan Lyles is 0-11 and a 6.89 ERA. Reese Olson, Georgia-born hurler, is 0-2 with a 6.08. Detroit minus 145 on the money line. Over under is 9. The Kansas City Royals are 0-14 when Jordan Lyles is on the mound. 7:05 Eastern, Cubs are at the Pirates. Drew Smiley versus Bido. Chicago, a slight favorite, minus 135. Over under is 9. Rockies at the Reds, Gomber versus Williamson. Reds minus 170, over under 10.5. And the Red Sox are at the Twins. Paxton versus Lopez. The money line, Minnesota minus 145, over under 8.5. Taking the under for my lock of the day. Merrill Kelly versus Corbin Burns. 8:10 Eastern, Milwaukee minus 120, the over under 7.5. And Heaney is on the mound for the Texas Rangers, 8:10 Eastern in Chicago. Rangers and White Sox, Texas minus 125, over under 9.5. Padres and Giants, Walker versus Walker. San Diego minus 115, over under 8.5. College baseball, Tennessee and Stanford are in an elimination game this afternoon. We'll keep you up to date on that. While LSU and Wake Forest, a showdown tonight, 7 o'clock Eastern. Number 1 Demon Deacons versus the number 5 Bayou Bengals. Wake Forest minus 150, over under 9.5. And that's your Armchair Quarterback Sports Flash. Stay tuned for Braves Country right here on WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Newnan, Georgia, simulcasting on youtube.com at Braves Country.
Armchair.
There's something kind of about a kid that's never played baseball.
We have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, and flat out deceived.
Why did you get so drunk?
You got drunk. I'm just really exhausted.
What's in that cup?
Rum and Cokes.
Do you have any idea how important this is? We're trying to save the pump cup. Really? This is what you're doing? This is what you're doing?
Chief, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night. Try to take over the world.
106 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
Armchair.
YouTube Live.
Radio station.
The radio station you can call your own. Do you know what listeners like about our station?
I like everything. It's always on my radio.
We never stop the music, except for now, when I talk.
You're listening to Braves Country with Mac Magee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. We're here live weekdays, 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern, WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key, and simulcasting on youtube.com/@Braves Country. Your first choice for Southern sports. Good afternoon. I'm Mac Magee, and I don't know much, but I know one thing. Tennessee Volunteers better get up off the bat. They're about to chew and barbecue, as they say out in Omaha.
Armchair.
Community Access Channel.
He's the armchair quarterback. He's full of beer and he's full of snacks. The all-American man with a cool one in his head.
Hey, howdy, hi, and how the hell are you? I am doing absolutely great. I want to make a real quick note if you're planning on checking out the Chattahoochee tonight here on 99.1 FM. The game has been moved up. It was originally supposed to be 7:05 first pitch, and now it is going to be 6:30 first pitch. So there you have that, and let me double check the pregame show. Well, it's saying 6:35 first pitch. If you go online, it'll tell you 6:30, but it looks like first pitch is actually 6:35. The pregame show will come on right here, 99.1 FM at 6:20. I don't know if they have renamed it, but I continue to petition for Give a Hoots. Give a hoot! Come on, Chattahoochee, get a W. They're going to be taking on the Brookhaven Bucks tonight, and that's no Braves baseball. So check out some Chattahoochee baseball. 6:35 tonight here on 99.1 FM. All right, we got a lot to get into and a little time to do it. So much moving and shaking. And if you look over my shoulder, if you're watching this on live on the Braves Country HD, you'll see that we are going to fill out a ballot today for Major League Baseball. And I wish I could make that a little bigger. The problem is if you make it much bigger, it changes the look to it and it's not as easy to read. So I played around with it a little bit before we came on to the show, and that's basically the best look we have. So we're going to do that here in a second. Did want to touch on a couple of things before we get into Braves baseball. First of all, how about that U.S. Open? That was something special. I don't watch a lot of golf, but I do try to catch the majors, and I am more likely to get locked into the major when it's as closely contested as it was yesterday. And I had it on, probably dialed into it. I want to say I got into it around 4:00-ish, maybe closer to 5, because I knew that the leaders were going to start their rounds a little after 5:00. And Wyndham Clark, who goes out there, by the way, he's from people who aren't familiar with him. I wasn't familiar with him. 29 years old, from Denver, Colorado, and played his college ball at Oregon. So he is a Duck. So he brings home the U.S. Open. And the nerves that had to have been going through him, shaking on that final round of 70 that he shot, which, by the way, Scheffler, McIlroy, and Clark all shot 70, which is amazing that there was no movement between those three. Not up, not down, no. They just all shot 70. If Scotty Scheffler could putt, the man would have walked away with it. But his putting game continues to struggle. Ricky Fowler had a real puncher's chance, and he did what Ricky Fowler tends to do in these big championship moments. It just seems like that he normally has at least one round that kind of takes him out of contention. Which has kind of been what has happened to Rory McIlroy the last several years, but McIlroy actually played a very good tournament. He was solid across the board. Fowler goes out and shoots at 75, and it took him out of contention. Think about the fact that if Fowler would have put a 70 on the board, we would have had an 18-hole playoff, which is what I was pulling for. I didn't care how many guys were in it. I wanted to see an 18-round playoff. So Instead, we get Wyndham Clark winning his first major, bringing that home. Rory gets number 2, Scheffler 3, in case you missed this. To round out the top 5, it was Smith and Fowler. And I was a little disappointed on a couple of the guys, how they ended. You know, I thought Scheffler was going to have an actual puncher's chance going into the weekend. Then he shot a 73 and 72, never really got into it. Same thing with Dustin Johnson after his incredible opening round. And John Rahm shot a great 65 on the final day, but it was too little too late. So there you have that. Just wanted to put a bow on the U.S. Open as I try to watch it as much as I can. Obviously involved in all the baseball that we do here. It's a little difficult to get soaked into it, but I watched a little bit on Saturday. I watched a majority of it on Sunday. As soon as the Braves game was over, we'll get into that in a second. As soon as it was over, my attention went straight to the U.S. Open. And how about the kid that gave up the 3-run jack walk-off against the Nashville Sounds yesterday for the Atlanta Braves, the relief pitcher? They sent him packing and traded him to the Oakland A's immediately for cash considerations. And here's the funny thing that I read about that. The kid is expected to go straight into the Oakland A's bullpen. Now the A's have the worst bullpen in baseball, but he has an ERA of over 5 in AAA. He's going to get tattooed. I wish you could predict when he's going to pitch, because you got to bang the over in that game. All right, let's go ahead and take a really quick break, reset. When we come back, Braves Country today, we're going to get rocking and rolling on the Atlanta Braves. We're going to fill out a ballot, and I have come across a couple things. A, Charlie Culberson. B, what's the plan moving forward? And C, some trade chips. Won't get into all the trade chips today, but some very interesting trade chips that the Braves could be bringing in, as the trading deadline is just, what is it now? Just over 5 weeks away, August 1st. August 1st, just under 6 weeks. And some wheeling and dealing. And you know how Anthopoulos is. He tends to make moves sooner than later. He doesn't always wait. He'll make some moves the day of the deadline, but he has been known to make moves leading up to it. So we'll be back in a flash. Let's reset and get ready for Braves talk and Major League Baseball all around. And got other things coming up. Tones is on the way. And today, you college football fans, are mini camps. Today, the Rambling Wreck of Georgia Tech and a hell of an engineer. We're going to Georgia Tech today, as we'll get you set for Georgia Tech football. Be back in a flash here on Braves Country Baseball.
If you don't like your job, you don't strike. You just go in every day and do it really half-assed. That's the American way.
Hey, sports fans. Weekdays, 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern. Drive time on WQEE. Braves Country is a Southern sports talk show with Mac Magee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. That's Braves Country with Mac Magee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. Weekdays, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. right here on WQEE 99.1 FM.
Change approved.
It's important to remember the value of taking time for ourselves to do the things that help us grow and explore, like learning something new. And now with the Great Courses Plus, it's never been easier to experience the joys of learning. The Great Courses Plus offers thousands of streaming videos that cover hundreds of fascinating topics, from World War II to choosing the perfect wine. You can even take a course on the U.S. government or dealing with stress and anxiety. And because the Great Courses Plus partners with world-class professors and experts, you're always receiving thoroughly vetted, high-quality content from every lecture. Plus, you can watch or listen anytime, anywhere with the Great Courses Plus app. So take a little time for you. Sign up for the Great Courses Plus today. Visit thegreatcoursesplus.com to get started. That's GreatCoursesPlus.com.
Hockey season, and that means new merch over at OurDragonsMerch.com. Get the latest designs and some of our fun new souvenirs ahead of what's sure to be a great hockey season. Celebrate another season of River Dragons hockey by getting a new look to wear on game days, or surprise the big-time sports fan in your life with a new keepsake that will make them a River Dragons fan for life. Order online right now at OurDragonsMerch.com. That's the letter R, DragonsMerch.com. We'll see you at the rink.
It's summertime, and that means the return of all the fun and excitement of Chattahoochee baseball at historic Golden Park. Bring the whole family down for a night of fun. Tickets start as low as $10 with a discount for kids, seniors, and active military. Or celebrate a special night at the park with a group package or suite night. For game dates and more, visit GoHoots.com. That's GoHoots.com.
Hey, this is not a test. This is rock and roll. Time to rock it from the Delta to the DMZ. Hey, is it a little too early for being that loud? Hey, too late. It's 0600. What's the O stand for? Oh, my God, it's early. Hey, you know what I mean. Too much?
You're in Braves country.
All right, baby. Atlanta GA, 4-game sweep, 6-game winning streak. As we roll into Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, collars popped at everything. We ain't scared. Bring them on. By the way, Philadelphia, speaking of teams that are hot, they're coming in on their own heater. And the Marlins, for that matter. If you haven't been paying attention to that, the Marlins, well, they just won't stop freaking winning. They do play Toronto tonight, and a good chance for them to get toppled as Jose Barrios is on the mound in what is essentially looking like almost a bullpen game for Miami. Hopefully they'll give us a half game breathing room. Braves come in today, 5 in front of Miami. And I know that's a healthy lead, but as hot as we've been, I was hoping to expand our lead, and we really haven't. 5 in front of Miami, 8 in front of Philly, and 12.5 against over the Metropolitans. 18 in front of Washington. And just FYI, after that colossal beatdown this weekend, the Braves' run differential is now over 100. And even plus 100 right now as we speak. We've won 8 of our last 10. Philadelphia is coming in on their own 6-game winning streak. They've won 8 of their last 10. It feels like for the last month I've looked down and Miami's been about 5 games back and the Phillies have been about 8 games back. Well, we have, by the way, real quick to give you an update on that College World Series, Tennessee taking one on the chin right now. This down 4-0, and that is a win and move on. Loser 2 and barbecue, as they call it. If you don't follow college baseball, what that means is the losers, they get the hotels and they get their flights set up to be out there for the entire week. So if you lose the first 2, all you do the rest of the time while you're out there waiting on your plane ticket home is you barbecue and watch everybody else play. So that's why it's called 2 and barbecue. And they're not just referring to the team, they're also referring to many of the fans that go out there. If you go out there and you're a fan of a team that's expecting to go deep, you obviously get a hotel for probably the whole week, damn near. So there you have that. Stanford putting it on them 4-0 and it's going to the fifth. I don't know what this Stanford this base runner was doing. The best thing I can tell you is the Tennessee pitcher was warming up, and as he was winding up to head to the plate, right-handed pitcher, by the way, so he couldn't see the runner behind him. It would be different if it was a left-handed pitcher. I could see that almost being distracting. But it was a right-handed pitcher, and he's delivering to the plate. And the best impression I can get without standing up and ripping everything out of, headset and everything out of here, is the runner leading off of first base starts kicking his legs high and moving his arms like this, but he's running in place. Almost like a Fred Flintstone thing. And then he never actually runs. Once the ball's pitched, he just heads back to first. So I don't know if he thinks that's going to be a distraction. The thing is, it was a right-handed pitcher. He couldn't see the damn dude, so I don't know what's going on. Anyways, I'm sure some analytical genius told him it would work. I just realized that I haven't taken the sticker off the hat. Wife got me the new Atlanta Braves ball cap that they were wearing for Father's Day yesterday. Pretty cool. It's it's got for folks who are riding down the road can't see it. It's got like it's dark blue with the A, but then it's got like it's on either one side or the other. It's got the emblem that's in the lighter blue that's supposed to be for cancer awareness. So anyways, pretty cool hat, comfortable hat. Like the last thing I needed was another ball cap, but I ain't never gonna turn that down. I got that, and I got a cup of our two dogs. I should have grabbed it for today. I'll show it on the air sometime this week. But the cup of our two dogs, all like around pictures of our dogs. So it's an entire collection. I don't know, maybe a dozen pictures all the way around a tumbler. So there you have that. Hope y'all had a great Father's Day. We hung out at the pool. For once, we didn't get rain. My God. And guess what's in the forecast today? as the skies are getting dark as we speak. But yesterday, we avoided rain. Saturday, after the broadcast, we went to go get in the pool, and the next thing I know, and all reports said you're going to be fine. It's not going to rain. Da 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 da. We look up, and of course, this is as the sun's going down. It's kind of harder to see. I'm like, I feel like the sky is darker, but I can't prove it because you can't see. We got everything back in just in time for a torrential downpour, and then it stopped for, I don't know, half hour, 45 minutes. Got back out there, and we tried to jump in the water, but it made it just chilly enough. You're like, I could power through it, but why make myself miserable? So watched the U.S. Open, or I actually watched the delay of it. I had it recorded, and I watched the third round pretty much in its entirety until the wee hours of the morning on Saturday, and then Sunday got up and got in the pool and watched Braves just beat down the Rockies. We didn't get in the pool probably till around the fifth inning, or no, before that. Whenever the onslaught began, we were down 5-0. So maybe around the third inning. It was right after Eddie's 3-run home run. So I guess he hit that in the second. And it was a heck of a comeback, and just to beat down, and got to hang out and with the family and everything, and not have to worry about the outcome essentially. And how about the fact the Braves are going to go into this series with the rested bullpen? Now, granted, Philadelphia, they're on their own heater themselves, and they have the day off today as well. I would have loved for Philadelphia to have to play today, right? But we're going to go into tomorrow. It's not going to be get off the plane at 5 a.m. and play a few hours later. There's no excuses tomorrow. You got to go in ready to rock and roll. And we're going to get into all of that. the series, everything. Before we do that, though, there were some things I wanted to touch on when it came to what's going on with the Atlanta Braves. First of all, the Charlie Culberson thing. I had a couple people ask me about this weekend, and I wanted to make sure I did my due diligence before I just, spouted off. And you got to realize Friday and Saturday night, both of those games, or Friday night, Saturday afternoon, I was pounding the table because the games were both blowouts to let Charlie Culberson in the ninth inning. I really wanted to see him pitch because he's done that before. But it would have been cool just to put him at second base, wherever. What, Ozzy can't take an inning off? So, anywhere. You can put Culberson anywhere. You could give Riley an inning off. Olsen, whoever. That's Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday night for that matter. We didn't do the play-by-play Thursday night, and that game was a little closer on Friday, on Thursday. It was 8-3, so that's not quite the blowout. But it was 8-1 on Friday, and then 10-2 or whatever it was on Saturday. So I was really upset that, Charlie Culberson was up here like a month and never got into the game one time. So because of that, I don't think it's dirty that they cut him. I get that part. They brought him up to cut him. If y'all remember during one of the broadcasts when he first came up, I mentioned the fact the reason why he was chosen to come up is because he can be DFA'd. And if you can be DFA'd, a guy with very little upside at this stage in his career. Now, look, if he makes it all the way through waivers, the Braves will bring him back and put him at AAA. And what I would think would probably happen long term is that the Braves, especially because he does have a residence in the area, the Braves will most likely give him the opportunity to work somewhere with the Atlanta Braves if he wants it. He might retire from baseball and say, I don't want anything to do with this. I want to do anything but. You might want to open up a donut shop. If he does, I fully expect Charlie Culberson to be the new sponsor of Braves Country today. Anyways, but so that part of it wasn't dirty. The fact they didn't put him in the game, I just thought it was. Remember something. As much as we love the game and love the teams and want to win, it's still a television show, right? It's a show no matter how you look at it. We won't even call it television. It's a show. It's still a show. That's why they call it the show. But it is still a show, whether it's a radio show, a TV show, go to the game with your ticket, so it's a live Broadway show. Any way you want to break it down, sports and the game of baseball is a show. Give the fans what they want, man. Father's Day weekend on a Saturday afternoon, and you get to see Charlie Culberson chuck a few pitches towards home plate, which would have been the coolest. That would have been the ideal. If I were making the decision, it would have been on Saturday. He would have pitched the 8th inning, maybe even the 9th inning. But he would have pitched at least one of those innings. And if there's any minute possibility that there's trouble brewing, you could have someone warming up in the pen. So we'll put that to rest. But I did want to start off on that because Culberson, he's just a cult. I won't call him a hero. He's a fan favorite. And it's a show. Whether I went to that Broadway show and paid for a ticket to sit down the third baseline or in the outfield or wherever I'm at, I want to be entertained. And the game's out of reach. So entertain me. If I'm listening at home and it's an old-time radio show, which, by the way, I still think is the best way to consume baseball. We put the game on in the pool yesterday. I couldn't see the screen. At one point, my wife asked me about it. I said, I don't care. I don't listen to it. I don't watch it. If I'm not broadcasting the game, I don't watch it. I listen to a baseball game because it is, to me, a baseball game on the radio is still the best pastime, summertime in America. And just thank your lucky stars that you were born here in the United States so you don't have to listen to soccer on the radio, right? Sorry, soccer fans, but that sport does not compute on the radio. All right. You can defend it all you want going to a game, even watching a game on TV, but don't try to tell me how soccer or even basketball is terrible radio. Oh, brutal. I did it in college. I used to do double headers of basketball. Oh, brutal. It's probably why when I'm doing baseball games, you very rarely get dead air with me because I'm always yapping. Because, man, basketball, oof. There's never time to sit there and say, hey, so did you catch that? No, because someone's dribbling up the lane. But anyways, back to what I was talking about. There's just certain times, man, read the room, put Culberson in. All right, next thing. Here's the obvious. I want to make sure they have not made a move before I start chirping about this. Now, they may make a move before tomorrow, and that's the big thing. Because the game doesn't start until tomorrow evening, so they could easily end up by the way, happy birthday to Colin McHugh. Braves country birthday. But I want to double check and make sure they have not changed. It looks like they have not made an announcement. All right. If you go into tomorrow and they don't do nothing changes. For folks that missed the actual move, they took Culberson and put him on DFA. Oh, by the way, Colby Allard, someone's been asking, but I don't remember who it was, but Colby Allard has began his AAA comeback. I think it was 4-putt, but I don't remember. Somebody was asking within the last week. Colby Allard started his rehabilitation assignment yesterday. I don't know if he actually got into the game, but it was to begin yesterday. Let's put it that way. And usually how these AAA, AA teams, he was going to triple. Usually how it works is most of them play Tuesday through Sunday, or Wednesday through Sunday nowadays. It's usually a five-day week. So if he didn't get in yesterday, which they probably would have made sure he got in, if he didn't get in yesterday, then he would get in Wednesday. I'll look that up at the break. But so you've got Trump coming up because of the whole Sean Murphy tweaking his hamstring. Now, it looks like he's going to be day-to-day, and it's not going to be an IL stint. That's the good news. Here's the tricky part. So do the math in your head along with me. They DFA Culberson to bring up Trump because they couldn't send Culberson down because he didn't have any options left. He probably would have preferred to be optioned down. But that's not his choice because that's the way the players' agreement goes. I guarantee the last thing that he wants, Culberson, is to get picked up by like the Oakland A's and then him and his family have to make a decision. I don't know. Do I play the rest of the season or do I just call it quits? Do I want to go to play in Oakland's farm system? So you bring Trump up. Okay, that's great. So we got a backup catcher. We got a starting catcher in Darno. And we've got a catcher who we don't know when he'll be back, but he's still technically active in Murphy. Who else do we have on the bench? We've got the two catchers on the bench, right? And then we also have Ozuna, he's not an everyday position player, he's our DH. And we have Hilliard and we have Pilar, assuming that Rosario is your starter and left. Are you see where I'm going with this? We don't have a backup infielder. There's not a single guy on our roster that you can say is is what most teams carry nowadays. They carry one, sometimes two utility players. Well, McGee, what the hell are we going to do if someone gets injured in the second inning? Well, this is going to be the game plan, I think. And get your pencil and paper out. Assuming we get the typical starting lineup, and I'm going to tomorrow's game, which right now is supposed to be Suarez, a lefty, and Strider on the mound. So most likely Pilar gets the start at in left field. That's been the MO. Against a lefty, put Pilar there. Rosario would be on the bench. If Ozzie Albies were to get injured, and I hate saying that kind of stuff because it's almost like you're jinxing it, but you have to address it. If not, like, what are we here to do? Just bury our head in the sand? So if he were to get injured at second base, even if it was something light, a hamstring like Murphy had, our second baseman would probably be Rosario. He has played second base before. All right, well, we got that figured out. And at that point, you wouldn't have to slide anybody anywhere. You just bring Rosario in to play second. How sharp is he at second nowadays? I don't know. Hell, he probably doesn't know. But that's where we're at. By the way, Tennessee's off the mat. They're showing some life. They've scored 2 runs. It's 4-2. Top of the 5th in Omaha. All right. What happens if first base gets injured? Olsen has to come out for whatever reason. All right. Well, that one's not as shady because you've got Tromp. Chadwick Tromp can now play first base. He could obviously be the backup catcher too if something happened to Darno, but I think that was obvious. Other guys who have real first base experience, Sam Hilliard, which is one of the reasons why he made the team, along with his speed, is because he can play any of the outfield positions and first base. And Travis Darno. Would they be nearly as good as the Platinum Glove standard at first? No, but I'm talking about trying to get, because all you're trying to do is you're trying to get through a game. And then that next game, they're calling someone up and they're sending someone on the red eye. And they're putting so-and-so on the IL. Okay, what happens if we go shortstop? Holy cow, Batman. What do we do? Rosario? Can't really put, first of all, can you imagine this thing about Rosario playing second base? It's not typical that you have a middle infielder be left-handed for obvious reasons. The ball is hit to your right. Think about trying to throw against your body towards first base. A little difficult. Pretty much have to pirouette. So let's see what happens at shortstop. The consensus is it would probably be Austin Riley. And then if third base were open because Austin Riley slid to third or something were to happen to third base, Chadwick Tromp has played third base. So that would be the game plan. Tromp at third. Riley's your backup plan at short. I mean, if RC and Riley collided into each other, I don't know what the hell we're going to do. But you're just going to put a body out there and hope to get through the game. You're probably going to lose said game. Because if you get into that kind of a sticky wicket, there's a very good chance you're not coming back from it. Every team's going to try to bang the ball over to you, over to that side of the field, and it would get slap ugly. But anyways, that would be the game plan. So there you have that. And a couple of things I did want to mention before we hit the other stuff. Strider, who's going into tomorrow, his ERA is now over 4. He's 7-2, but a 4.12. So anybody who might have predicted that he was going to win the Cy Young at the beginning of the year, that's out the window as of right now. He's going to have to go on one hell of a run. Still getting the strikeouts, but a 4.12 ERA, that ain't cutting it. His record's still pretty good at 7-2, but that's because the offense has been exploding. Conversely, now why has it been? I think most of it's mechanics, and you can tell it's been his location. Location. He's been real estate the last 3 or 4 outings. It has just been poor location. Which usually during side sessions, you can usually fix that over time. Will it happen tomorrow night? God, I hope so, because that's a nasty lineup. The other thing that you notice, Joe Jimenez, he has given up 1 run in his last 7 innings. I think he's gone 7 1/3 in his last 7 outings. He's given up 1 run. And what has been the key with him? It's been location, but here's the other thing. Remember, he came off a back surgery at the beginning of the year during the offseason. He couldn't do the weight training, et cetera, et cetera. His fastball from his first appearance into April to this past weekend, Joe Jimenez's fastball is up about 3 miles an hour. He was topping out at around 92, high 92 into 93. Now he's routinely 95 to 96. I mean, that sound like a big deal. You stand there at home plate, someone throws 92 and someone throws 96. It makes everything, it makes the fastball more difficult to catch up with, but also all his breaking stuff, it makes it that much more difficult to make contact with. And then also if you start looking for that breaking, and the 96 come whizzing in there, that's what it all plays off. So worried about Strider's velocity, though he's still up around 96. He was throwing 99 at the beginning, but usually that comes from mechanics. I don't think it's injury related. If it was, they would have already sat him down. All right, let's take a real quick break. When we come back, we're going to fill out our ballot, our all-star ballot. We're going to talk about trade opportunities for the Atlanta Braves. I've got a short list of guys that I think they will go after if available. We'll be back in a flash here on Braves Country. Keep it locked in here on WQEE and Braves Country HD right here on YouTube.
It's the best in sports and entertainment, and get locked in and locked down with Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. with your host, me, Ryan O'Neill, each and every morning, right here with the best in sports and entertainment, all the way from professional sports to college sports to River Dragons hockey and everything in between, including some of the very best local and national guests. It's the Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Monday through Fridays, right here on 99.1 FM WQEE.
It's summertime, and that means the return of all the fun and excitement of Chattahoochee baseball at historic Golden Park. Bring the whole family down for a night of fun. Tickets start as low as $10 with a discount for kids, seniors, and active military. Or celebrate a special night at the park with a group package or suite night. For game dates and more, visit GoHoots.com. That's GoHoots.com.
Braves Country today. We're talking Southern sports. We go live 3 to 5 weekdays right here on WQEE. Braves Country today, Southern sports talk with the voice of Braves Country baseball, Mac Magee. Joined every day from sports analysts from all over Braves Country, talking college football, the NFL, Major League Baseball, and what's trending in the world of sports. Braves Country today. We go live 3 to 5 weekdays right here on WQEE.
It's baseball season now, but hockey will be back before you know it. Join the Columbus River Dragons as they celebrate the team's 5th anniversary season in 2023-24. Season tickets are on sale now with no price increase from last season. Lock up your favorite seat for every exciting moment. Call the River Dragons at 706-507-4625 or go online to rdragons.com. That's rdragons.com. River Dragons Hockey. Get fired up.
Hey, where's my tickets to the Sonics game? They were here just a second ago. Somebody stole my tickets to the Sonics game! This stinks! This is total BS! This is... Oh, got it. Okay, where's the French fries? I ordered French fries. This stinks! This is total BS! Eddie Vermoy is gonna... Oh, here they are. Where's my power bar?
Welcome back, Braves Country, you NBA fans. We're going to talk a little NBA in the next hour, not much. There's so much to get into with the baseball. And by the way, I believe the Tennessee Volunteers have tied it up. I don't know what's going on here. It looks like some kind of a football huddle with Stanford. I don't know what they're doing. But anyways, Stanford has gone to the bullpen. That is for sure. So looks like they've gotten off the mat, and maybe the Vols have some fight in them after all. Quinn Matthews is in the game. I thought they were about to show something important from the starting pitcher, but they did not. Anyways, back to the rest of the story. Okay. First of all, I want to go into the Braves trade possibilities, and these are some pretty interesting ones. Now, this is just the top of the barrel. We'll get more into it as we go along here, but I wanted to grab a couple of them because some of them that are on the list to me are very interesting. And as we do this, I'm going to fill out our ballot. So your first baseman all-star game. Now remember, you can go on and fill out your own all-star ballot every day until the summer, or right before the Summer Classic. I think it's a week before the All-Star game, something like 7 to 10 days. So you got about 2 weeks-ish to fill this out. All right, they will put, and by the way, when you go on there, if you're like, man, I don't know what other teams are doing, what other players are doing, their stats are right there, which they didn't used to do that. They used to just give you the player and then you just vote. And you go, oh, well, I've heard of this guy before. So I love the fact that they're actually putting the average, the home runs, the RBI, and the OPS right there. All right. If you hadn't done that throw it again thing, I'd be voting for Pete Alonso. That guy's off my list forever. Your first baseman to me in the National League comes down to two guys. And I think it's pretty obvious. And you got to go by what stat jumps out at you the most. Matt Olson, batting .233, 20 home runs, 51 RBI, and 850 OPS. Freddie Freeman, 324, 13 home runs, 46 RBI, and a 958 OPS. I mean, I think you got to go Freddie, but I'll be darned if I'm putting Freddie Freeman on my ballot. So I'm going homer pick on this one, but I wouldn't kill anybody for picking Freddie. Goldschmidt's not having a Goldschmidt type year so far. And we still got a couple more weeks, so if someone heats up, you never know. Goldschmidt would be the guy that I routinely go to say, well, what's he doing? And he hasn't really done much. I mean, actually, Christian Walker's had a better year than he has. The first baseman in the American League, you know, when I look at this, I think it's almost an easy vote. The thing is, because he's not the household name that people are used to, I don't know if he's going to get the votes. But, man, Yandy Diaz, 916 OPS, first baseman for Tampa. 302, 12 homers, 36 RBI. I got to go with Yandy. Second baseman, if it's not Ozzie Albies, I mean, who is it? 17 homers, 52 RBI, and 831 OPS. I don't think there's any question. I mean, there's a couple of guys that are having good years, but Ozzie's got to be second base in the National League. American League, little interesting here because your usual suspects are not having that great a year. Because obviously the first one you always look for is what's a Jose Altuve doing. Well, remember, Altuve just came off the IL. So if you vote for Altuve, you're voting for him because of what he's done in the past. I don't do that with the All-Star game. I want the best player that year. So the guy that gets my nod on this one, if Whit Merrifield had a little more pop, I'd be willing to put him on my ballot, but just hasn't done it. So to me, it comes down to two guys. Marcus Semien of Texas, who's got 10 homers and an 808 OPS. And then the other one would be Brandon Drury, who's got an 811 OPS, 12 homers, 37 RBI, and a 267 average. I think I'm going to go with Drury. He's having just a little better year, and why not put the new blood in there? Third baseman, we'll go National League. As much as I would love to put Riley in there, he's just not having a year, man. His OPS is below 800, 11 home runs. He's had much better years. So you look across, well, who is worthy of it? I mean, Manny Machado's not doing anything. At this point, I guess you can make the argument for Nolan Arenado. He's having a slightly better year than what Riley is having, but that's not going to bring anybody home. If you're looking at the straight numbers offensively, it's probably J.D. Davis of San Francisco. He's barely above Arenado when it comes to OPS. But I'm going to give Arenado the nod because he's so good in the field. American League, nothing really that outstanding. He's just one of my favorite players to watch. Give me Jose Ramirez. My number two guy would probably be Devers of the Red Sox, but he hasn't had that great of a season, and you could make the argument that Ramirez's numbers in certain categories are a little more impressive. And neither one of them are going to win Gold Gloves, so I like Jose Ramirez. Shortstop, I mean, it's got to be Orlando Arcia. Get it. 341, 6 homers, 25 RBI, and 890 OPS. Get out of here. By the way, he is the leading vote getter for the shortstop in the National League. American League, this one's tough because guys you expect to have good years are not having them. And I think it's got to be Bo Bichette at this point. He's batting .315, 855 OPS. And the big thing is, man, he's getting on base. He's knocking them in. 14 home runs. Very impressive. And catcher-wise, I'll tell you who you need to keep an eye on in the near future. I know Braves fans don't want to hear this. Dude, that Francisco Alvarez, remember he came up late in the season? That dude's already got 12 home runs. Unbelievable. But I'm not putting him in. And I feel like I've got to put Sean Murphy in. He's been solid across the board. So many big hits, and he's been very good behind the plate. He hasn't been what was advertised. I thought he was going to be like the elite where it was going to jump off the page, but he's been very, very good behind the plate. Extremely good. No complaints about Sean Murphy behind the plate, but we were told is that he was going to be like Superman. Instead, I think he's more like Batman. All right. Catcher in the American League. I mean, I think I almost have to go to the old man. Give me Salvador Perez of the Royals. 268, 14 home runs, 37 RBI. No one's really having that great of a year. Adley Rutschman's pretty solid in Baltimore. I guess it'd be cool to give it to the young kid. They're both about the same, but every team gets a player. So I'm gonna put Salvador Perez in there. I'm gonna have Rutschman on my roster if I'm building it, but that's it. I'm gonna put a stop there, and we'll do the rest of it on the other side. I do want to talk about the trades. Let's talk relief pitchers first, And I grabbed 5 names. We're going to do this all leading up to the deadline, give you more names to keep an eye on. Here are 5 relief pitchers. I'm going to give you some starting pitchers on the next segment. But 5 relief pitchers that I would like to see the Braves at least kick the tires on. There's Julian Merriweather of the Cubs. Now he's listed as reliever / starter. He's been doing really well as a starter recently, but you could put him in your bullpen. Michael Kepik of the White Sox. He's been really outstanding his last 4 starts. So though he comes down in the reliever category because he pitched mainly relief last year, if you make a trade for him, you're probably putting him in the starting rotation. I'm gonna stick with the city of Chicago. I'm gonna stick on the South Side. Kendall Graveman and Joe Kelly. I think the White Sox are ready to tear that thing down, and they're gonna be selling at the deadline. They're gonna clear salary. They're gonna do a complete rebuild. Which, if you're a White Sox fan, you don't want to hear that because you just went through a rebuild, but the rebuild amounted to nothing. Sometimes these rebuilds don't work. Sometimes you do these rebuilds and it's like, what the hell? Not every rebuild turns into the Atlanta Braves and Houston Astros. Some of them turn into the Chicago White Sox. The last reliever on the docket, Alex Lang of the Detroit Tigers. We know the Braves have made moves with the Tigers before. Alex Lang, right-hander. You can put him anywhere in the bullpen. He's pretty much a setup man, right-hander. You get him or Graveman. Now, Joe Kelly, if you get Joe Kelly, he's an innings eater till the end of the season. He is not someone you're really going to look for high leverage. He's a veteran, so he's going to do his job, but he's not someone that's going to blow you away in October. But Lang and Graveman could be difference makers. And I do think that is going to be the concentrate for this trade deadline is going to be get us some relievers and maybe even a starter. And that starter, got some names in mind. We got to take a quick break, top of the hour, ID and all that stuff. We'll be back in a flash. Tones is on the way, and we're going to talk a little more trades, and we're going to finish out this ballot. We'll be back in a flash here on Braves Country. You're listening to WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia.
Armchair.
You're listening to the Armchair Quarterback Sports Radio, #1 sports station.
Good afternoon, and this is your Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Flash. Here are your standings in Major League Baseball. Heading in to the middle of June, we're just 3 weeks away from the All-Star break. All teams are anywhere between 72 to 75 games in, so it's just a little under a half of the season. In the American League East, the Tampa Bay Rays lead Baltimore 5 games. The Rays are 51-24, best record in baseball. They have a 10.5 game lead over the Yanks, 11 over Toronto. Boston is 12.5 back, but on a 4-game winning streak after sweeping their arch rivals over the weekend. In the AL Central, the Minnesota Twins lead the Guardians by 2.5 and up on the Tigers by 5. White Sox 5.5, Kansas City way back 16.5 out. AL West, Rangers 4.5 over the Angels at 44-27. They're 5.5 in front of Houston, who starts the series against the New York Mets tonight. Mariners 8.5 back, Oakland Athletics 26.5 out. In the National League East, your Atlanta Braves 5 games in front of the Miami Marlins. Atlanta is 46-26. 3 games in front of Arizona for the best record in the National League. Behind the Braves in the East, Philly, 8 games out. Atlanta and the Phillies will start a 3-game set tomorrow night. We'll have all 3 games, pitch by pitch, play by play, right here on Braves Country HD. The New York Mets are 12.5 out. Washington Nationals, 18 back. National League Central, they're locked up in a tight one. Milwaukee Brewers are a half game in front of the Reds, who are on an 8-game winning streak. The Reds are hosting the Rockies this week, and then they get set for a 3-game series in Cincinnati versus your Atlanta Braves. Pirates 2.5 back of the Brewers. Cubs just 4 out. St. Louis Cardinals 8.5 games out, sitting in the cellar of the NL Central. They're 14 games under 500. Arizona Diamondbacks are leading the West. They have a 3.5 game lead on the San Francisco Giants, who are on a 7-game winning streak and are coming off a sweep in Los Angeles of the Dodgers. Dodgers 4 back of Arizona. San Diego 7.5 back as they won the series versus the Tampa Bay Rays in Cali this weekend. The Colorado Rockies have lost 5 in a row, including a 4-game sweep in Atlanta. They're 15 back in the NL West. Got a smaller slate here in Major League Baseball on a Monday afternoon. It gets going 4:05 Eastern, Cardinals versus Nationals. We'll keep you up to date on the scores as the show rolls along. 6:40 tonight, Braves Country is hoping that Toronto can cool off the Marlins. It's Jose Berrios versus Hoeing. Toronto minus 160 on the money line. Miami Marlins have won 4 in a row, 7 of their last 10. At 8:10 Eastern, Mets at the Astros. Max Scherzer versus Hunter Brown. Should be a good one. Houston is minus 115 over under 7.5. Royals at the Tigers at 6:40. Jordan Lyles is 0-11 and a 6.89 ERA. Reese Olson, Georgia-born hurler, is 0-2 with a 6.08. Detroit minus 145 on the money line. Over under is 9. The Kansas City Royals are 0-14 when Jordan Lyles is on the mound. 7:05 Eastern, Cubs are at the Pirates. Drew Smiley versus Bido. Chicago, a slight favorite, minus 135. Over under is 9. Rockies at the Reds. Gomber versus Williamson. Reds minus 170. Over under 10.5. And the Red Sox are at the Twins. Paxton versus Lopez. The money line, Minnesota minus 145. Over under 8.5. Taking the under for my lock of the day. Merrill Kelly versus Corbin Burns. 8:10 Eastern. Milwaukee minus 120. The over-under 7.5. And Heaney is on the mound for the Texas Rangers. 8:10 Eastern in Chicago. Rangers and White Sox. Texas minus 125. Over-under 9.5. Padres and Giants. Walker versus Walker. San Diego minus 115. Over-under 8.5. College baseball, Tennessee and Stanford are in an elimination game this afternoon. We'll keep you up to date on that. While LSU and Wake Forest, a showdown tonight, 7 o'clock Eastern. Number 1 Demon Deacons versus the number 5 Bayou Bengals. Wake Forest minus 150, over under 9.5. And that's your Armchair Quarterback Sports Flash. Stay tuned for Braves Country right here on WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia, simulcasting on youtube.com at Braves Country.
It's summertime, and that means the return of all the fun and excitement of Chattahoochee baseball at historic Golden Park. Bring the whole family down for a night of fun. Tickets start as low as $10 with a discount for kids, seniors, and active military. Or celebrate a special night at the park with a group package or suite night. For game dates and more, visit GoHoots.com. That's GoHoots.com.
Shouldn't you be at work by now? Work? It's raining. I called in sick. I don't work in the rain. You don't work in the rain. You're a mailman. Neither rain nor sleet. It's the first one!
Welcome back. Tone should be joining us here very shortly. We're waiting for him to join in here. Gonna do a couple of things. We're going to finish up our all-star ballot and then get into the trade possibilities for the Atlanta Braves. Got some starting pitchers that I've got 5 starting pitchers that I think are realistic shots. Let me finish this up real quick. The first, okay, if you're just joining us, we did the infield. Now we're going to the outfield. Outfield National League begins and ends with Ronald Acuna Jr. He's the MVP at this point of the season. So Ronald Acuna Jr. to me has to get in there. The number 2 person, I'm telling you right now, this Corbin Carroll has been impressive. Corbin Carroll of the Arizona Diamondbacks, he has been absolutely tearing it up. And he's fun to watch. I'd say the next guy that's going to get in is Mookie Betts, and he's had a solid year as well. So I'll go ahead and give him the nod. The only reason why I'm a little hesitant with Mookie, because normally his years are better at this point. But you can't argue with the fact that he is sitting there with 17 homers, 43 RBI, and an 878 OPS. Pretty solid numbers. And that just tells you how good Mookie Betts is when you see that and you think that he's having a down year, which he is for Mookie standards. By the way, Volunteers have tied it up with Stanford. It is 4-4. I believe it's top of the 6th. It looks like Stanford just hit Tennessee batter, so they got runners on first and second. There are 2 away. For the next one, okay, so that's my National League. Acuna, Mookie, and then I'm going to give it to the kid Corbin Carroll. He's just been phenomenal. He's so fast. If you haven't watched that kid play, he's so darn fast. American League. I'm going to go ahead and give it to Alvarez. I don't know if he'll be healthy enough to play in it, but I'm going to give it to Alvarez. Yordan Alvarez, just phenomenal player. And whether or not the Astros would allow him to play would be the other thing. I think you got to put more Tampa Bay guys in it. So give me Randy Arozarena. He's one of my favorite players to watch. I'm putting him in just on that alone. So it means I've got to be particular with my third guy. I think I know where I'm going. I just want to double check and make sure. Judge is hurt right now. Is Judge going to be healthy? Are they going to let him play? I don't know. In theory, I would put Aaron Judge in there, but he's hurt. So give me Adolis Garcia. Man, we couldn't get that guy out. Now, look, Judge is phenomenal. Don't get me wrong. And he'll get the nod over anybody if he's healthy and ready to roll. Because he plays in the New York market. So my one vote's not going to sway that. But I'm going off the fact that it sounds like he may not be ready for the All-Star game. So I'm not going to vote for a guy that I think I'm just throwing my vote away for. Designated hitter, I mean, we don't even have to have the discussion. Shohei Ohtani, forget about American League. I mean, it's over. 24 home runs, 58 RBI, a 1016 OPS, 300 average. Oh, by the way, I heard he can throw the ball pretty well too. All right, the next DH. So you're going National League. Man, Bryce Harper just hasn't done it this year yet. And look, I know he just came back. He's only got 3 home runs. His OPS is 800, 812. That's okay. That's not Bryce Harper like. Bryce Harper's usually in the 900s. So I'm going to go somewhere else for the designated hitter. I ought to vote for Vogelfat. Now, I think I'm going to go with Jorge Soler. He's been more consistent. Really, really tempted to go with Ozuna, but Ozuna got up to such a bad start. I'm going to go with Jorge Soler. 20 home runs. Still wish we would have re-signed him. That was the one guy that I wanted to see us get. But anyways, that's the vote. They don't have you. I'm not going to fill all that stuff out on the screen. But they don't have you vote for pitchers. They have the managers vote for the pitchers and put the best pitchers in. But there you have that. So that's the that's where we're at here on the first. Now we'll do another one. I want to do another one where the fans vote for it, the listeners and whatnot. I got to figure out the best way to do that. But okay, trade possibilities. These are real trade possibilities, not make-believe ones. Real trade possibilities for the Atlanta Braves at the starting pitcher position. Because I believe in my heart of hearts that it's going to be most likely a couple of relief pitchers and then maybe a starter. But there's a couple of issues when we're talking about trying to get a starting pitcher. Anthopoulos does not go for it at the trading deadlines. He just doesn't. He'll do it in the offseason, but we have not seen him go for it at the trading deadline. And what I mean by that is go and get like an impact player. And he will make some maneuvers and do some great things. And I love what he does at the trading deadline. But you have to be understanding of how realistic it is that Anthopoulos is going to go out and bring in like a really big name. I've got a couple circled that we'll talk about today, and there's others that we can talk about in the future. But, you know, can we stop it on the Twitter machine about people thinking that Shohei Ohtani's coming to Atlanta? I mean, can we put a fork in that? That has been done for quite some time, my friend. Quite some time. There is no way in the world that Shohei Ohtani is going to be an Atlanta Brave. We don't have the pieces to make the move. Unless you're talking about getting rid of one of our young stars, put like Michael Harris into the deal, which would be absolutely absurd. If you did something like that, you better make sure he's signing that contract before you send your players. Because you just mortgaged your future over one guy. And you better hope that one guy never gets hurt. That one guy gets hurt. He blows out his pitching arm. Can he still swing a bat? He throws his back out. It's over. Tears his ACL. It's over. You're on the hook for $60 million for the next 10 years. And if he's healthy, it's great. You might bring home a championship with him, but I'd rather roll with the guys we got than to throw. Because you're not just going to put Harris in a deal. You're going to have to give the Angels something along the lines of like 3 major stars. And then what you'll be. What will you be at that point next year? You'll be the Anaheim Angels. You'll be a team that ESPN may want to put you on TV a little more. But you're going to be constantly falling right outside the playoffs because you can't afford anything else. I don't think Ohtani gets traded at the deadline. The Angels are in it, and they believe that they still have a very likely chance of making the playoffs. And if that's the case, then you're going to want, not only do you want to hold on to him for that reason, but then the other thing would be, to me, if you're the Angels and you think that you can re-sign Ohtani and you want to re-sign Ohtani, which they do, trading him away is basically giving up on that. Because if you trade him away and he decides he likes it better wherever you send him, they're going to have several months to manipulate his decision. As opposed to you coming in every day and going, you see, we could put something together, build around you and Trout. It is an absolute shame that Angels organization can't get it together. Because you have 2 of the most exciting players in baseball, and they never get to the postseason. But that's neither here nor there. Okay, Braves making moves. Where are we going? One of the ones that's starting to circulate that a lot of people are in on, I just don't particularly like the move because I don't believe in him because I've seen him too much up and down, is Lucas Giolito of the Chicago White Sox. Giolito can be a free agent pretty soon. He's had a great comeback year, bounce back year. He was terrible last year, and he has been known to lose it. And that's kind of a concern for me because if you're going to go get him, you're probably going to give up some pretty good prospects. You can pretty much guarantee that any kind of decent move, Dylan Dodd is involved in it, which we can live without it. But if we go after a more aggressive move of a guy, I've got a guy in mind that has a little more control, like a Michael Kepik or a Dylan Cease. Both of them are under control through 2025. 2025. So you're talking about getting them for this summer and the next 2 years. If you do that, you might be parting with Jared Schuster. Are the Braves willing to do that? I don't know if they really would be. Dylan Cease, for National League fans who are not familiar with him, he's basically Spencer Strider light. Same kind of delivery. Big strikeout guy, little frame. I'm not opposed to going all in and saying we believe in him. But what you're doing is you're going all in for the next 3 years. I'm fine with that. I don't know about you, Bez fans, but I'm fine with it. The Atlanta Braves can win another championship in the next 3 seasons, maybe even 2. Sign me up. We went from 1995 to 2021 without winning one. And honestly, we went about 20 years without even sniffing a chance at it. We always think we do have a chance because we're Braves country. But come on. There were some really lean years there. I would sign up. But you better believe they make that move for a guy like Cease or Kepik. Anthopoulos is probably going to want some kind of insurance that the guys are going to want to extend themselves. Will they do that? Are they too close to the finish line to be willing to do that? So there's that big question mark. The next thing would be, so I talked about Cease. I talked about Giolito, Kepik, Erod, Eduardo Rodriguez from the Detroit Tigers. It's another one. He has an opt-out, and I think he'll probably do it because he's having a career year. He has an opt-out, or he's under control for the next 3 years for $49 million, which honestly, in today's baseball, that's pretty doable. That's cheaper than what Charlie Morton is, but Morton's been a lot more consistent than Erod. The guy that I really want, that I would like to see them go all in on, but they're going to have to fall out of the race. Cleveland's not just going to give this guy up. He's through control for the next year and a half, and they have been notoriously not re-signed anybody. I want Shane Bieber. Shane Bieber is through the 2024 season. You're probably going to have to give up a couple of important chips, but it gives you 2 seasons. 2 seasons to get there. And so that's where we're at. That's where we're at. I want Bieber. I don't know how realistic it is. I would take Cease in a heartbeat. I'd be okay with Erod as long as it wasn't too expensive. The cheapo guy that we could get, and I want this guy because he's fun. He's always been a good clubhouse guy. Zach Greinke of the Kansas City Royals. But he would be in there. He would be like an Odorizzi type. He would just come in to fill out some innings. He could come from the bullpen. He's done it before. And you wouldn't have to give much up. And that's probably what's more realistic to happen. Let's be honest. We're probably not going to be able to go out there and get a Shane Bieber. But that's the guy I would like to watch. I mean, they left him in the other night, but he pitched pretty well in Arizona. I could not understand what they were doing leaving Bieber in until the 8th inning in a game where he'd given up a couple of runs. They just kept leaving him in. He was exhausted. You could see it. And then he gave up a dinger. It was bad, man. I mean, people want to talk about Tito being a great manager. Yeah, it was a Terrible managing by Martinez. And they're right there below Minnesota. So it's just, anyways. But my wish list number one would be Bieber. I would sign up for Cease or Erod. But I'd be okay with Greinke. Giolito would be fine, but I don't want to give up the farm for him because I've seen him do the up and down too much. I want a guy who's consistent. If we're going to give up prospects and going to have to try to lock them up or whatever, give me someone that I know is going to go to the mound, even when Charlie Morton has his bad games like he did yesterday. You know it's not anything that's going to last long term. All right, let's take a real quick break. Tones is coming in, and time to flip the switch. Georgia Tech, Ramblin' Wreckin', a hell of an engineer. We're going to go to football mini camps, going college football today, talk Georgia Tech football, and then we've got baseball tonight and our locks of the evening coming up, all before the top of the hour. We'll be back in a flash here on Braves Country HD on YouTube. Braves Country today, 99.1 FM.
I'm bad at sex. There's a lot of thrashing and thumping, but nothing really gets done. I'm like a broken dishwasher.
Armchair Quarterback Radio. We cover the world of baseball from start to finish.
Baerga is 0 for 3. Left center field. Grissom on the run. The team of the 90s has its world championship. A liner off Maggie's glove into center field. The Florida Marlins have won the World Series. Brocious, fittingly with a throw, and the Yankees have done it again. Number 24. They are the world champions of baseball in 1998. Chance of a lifetime for Luis Gonzalez. 2-2, bottom of the ninth, game 7 of the World Series. Bases loaded. Florida, center field. The Diamondbacks are world champion. Red Sox fans have longed to hear it. The Boston Red Sox are world champions. In the air to left, well hit. Back is Craig. What a team. What a ride. The Cardinals are world champs in 2011.
Armchair.
It's the best in sports and entertainment, and get locked in and locked down with Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. with your host, me, Ryan O'Neill, each and every morning, right here with the best in sports and entertainment, all the way from professional sports to college sports to River Dragons hockey and everything in between, including some of the very best local and national guests. It's the Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Monday through Fridays, right here on 99.1 FM WQEE.
Take the scenic route in the new Hyundai Santa Fe, the family SUV with available H-Track all-wheel drive to help you travel way off the beaten path. Find new adventures together in the Hyundai Santa Fe.
Hey, sports fans. Weekdays, 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern. Drive time on WQEE. Braves Country is a Southern sports talk show with Mac Magee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. That's Braves Country with Mac Magee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. Weekdays, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. right here on WQEE 99.1 FM. You're listening to WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia. Home of Braves Country with Mac Magee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. Weekdays, 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern, right here on The Key and YouTube.com at Braves Country.
Broken pretzels in the rug. The beer cans could be worse. She'll clean it up tomorrow and dread September 1st when once again, ho-ho! Well, the season's finally here and the players hit the field. And every man feels like a boy and every wife could kill. He's been flying beer since August, running the hot.
Welcome back, baby boys! Baby girls! Baby identifiers! How are you, Tones?
I'm doing great, brother, and I hope you had a great Father's Day, and hope you had a relaxing one as we're getting into the middle of summer, and we got a lot of baseball and other sports stuff heating up, including some football primers, so very excited to be talking sports with you today, brother.
Yeah, I had a good one. Did you have Good time yesterday with Pops?
Yep, we went home. We watched some good old baseball with the Pops. We got some good old food, couple of steaks. So we watched some sports.
He's a Cubs fan, right?
Yes, sir. He's a Cubs fan. So I got us some Cubs Red Sox tickets, and I got
awesome.
him.
Who's that?
That is in middle of July, towards the end. It's like Sunday, July 19th, I want to say. So that should be fun. And I got him.
Or...
It's a 1:20 Central, 2:20 Eastern time start.
Okay. I don't know if they would have. That almost sounds like something that they would put on Sunday Night Baseball.
I think they're up to something because Wrigley Field never has home Friday night games, but that Friday, for the first time since I could remember, Cubs Red Sox play at Wrigley in a night game. So I think they have something special. Yeah, it's weird. I've literally only seen 120, unless there's a rain. It's July 17th, I want to say the date on that. Something around there. But
you know what that could be?
Let me confirm.
Let me see here. July.
It should be like July 14th, yes.
So I think what that could be is that follows the All-Star break.
Mm.
And I do believe that there's certain wording in the players agreement where they can't start a game early on that day.
Mm.
If memory serves me correct, because the CBA that was written last year, I would say that's what it's got to do with, is giving everyone enough time. Because it's not that the players care about playing during a day. It's got nothing to do with that before people start going, gosh darn it. It's because the players want time to go home during their break.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it can be, it's not like other trips. You don't typically get on the All-Star game. What typically happens is you go home and then you meet your team at your next destination. You don't go back. Certain teams do it differently, but you don't always go right back to, like, for instance, the Red Sox aren't going to go to Boston, get on the team plane, and then fly in. A lot of times they're going to meet you in Chicago.
Yeah, and other teams even try and help other teams travel at times. I remember Paul Blackburn of the A's last year. I forget what club he traveled with exactly, but I remember the A's were in the midst of a road trip, so he was the only A's All-Star. He just took the flight with the other members of the opposing squad to the game.
Right. So there's that, but there's also guys that don't make the squad that go. You could be going anywhere in that, because the games end on Sunday afternoon. I don't think they have a Sunday night game this year. They typically don't. What they typically do is they cut the games off. There's no night games, so the guys have even longer to get to their destinations. Mm-hmm. And so no baseball Sunday night. Obviously, Monday night will be the home run derby, which Tones and I are going to do here. I got to get creative on how we're going to do that, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And then the game's on Tuesday. Wednesday, no game. And then they'll have like 1 or 2, maybe 3 games on Thursday. They used to just do 1, but I think the fear is there's going to be a rain out. So they'll usually have at least 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then everyone comes back on Friday, but they don't want day games on Friday.
And I don't know about you, but I remember years ago, to me, they did it smart. They had the Young Gentlemen's All-Star game, the minor league futures game, I believe, on Sunday night, kind of serving as that Sunday night baseball game. Now they moved that thing to Friday or Saturday night, and now that Sunday night's left a little blank, I believe. So, yeah, I don't think we get baseball that Sunday night.
On Sunday night?
I think the draft is on. It should be on.
I forgot. They started doing the draft on that night.
Yeah, they did. So that's a good point as well. It would have been cool having draft and futures game, but I could see why they focus on just the draft. Especially, I feel like the MLB draft is gaining steam a little bit with all these, how do I put it, like the Andrew Jones kids of the world and Matt Holliday's kids of the world's now coming into the thing.
They used to do it really strange. This about 10 years ago. I remember that they used to the futures game for Major League Baseball. They would do it in the middle of the afternoon on the Sunday as the season's ending.
Yeah.
Was always so. What I would do is I would tape it. It would become a Sunday night game for me because I would watch it at night. I'm like, why the hell is this coming on at like 3:30 in the afternoon, middle of the 6th inning of the Braves versus the Giants or whatever it was?
Exactly. I think only one year they had it as like a Sunday night game, but now they bounced it because of the draft. But yeah, that was the stupidest thing. I remember when Khalil Green was in that game and I was trying to watch him, but it was on at like 2:00. The Cubs were on. It was garbage.
Felix Hernandez and Adrian Beltre are going to be coaches in that game, by the way.
That's kind of cool. I mean, Felix Hernandez, ex-Atlanta Brave.
Very, very, very short period, yes. He never actually got out there.
That was during COVID or the year after?
It was COVID year. He was doing really well in the minors, and we were excited to see him. And then something happened. He got hurt or something. I can't remember.
Man, and that guy was a stud when he played.
Seeing if there's any other names of interest that may be trickling in on there. Jay Buhner is going to be first base coach. It's going to be in Seattle, so that's why they're going with that theme.
You know what I always love too? The celebrity all-star game, the softball game.
Yes, they don't do that anymore, do they?
Well, they do it, but they tape it, and then they only show like 30 minutes of it. And then they fast forward all the runs and stuff. To me, it's like, what's the point at that point? They show like a highlight.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm not expecting to see, Justin Bieber pick it at second. You're there to see the entire experience.
Exactly. It's like, yeah, I could see Bieber pick it on YouTube if I want. But I do love the MLB All-Star Weekend is the one true All-Star experience. I know you still have NBA All-Star Weekend, and to me that's second best. But MLB All-Star Weekend, you get that big game feel with the home run derby, the draft now, the celebrity game, and then, of course, the All-Star game. So I'm excited, man. I can't wait. But, again, to me, it does lose its stick.
Saturday night, 7 p.m., just before the All-Star break.
I do still always get pissed off that they removed the damn sucker out of Atlanta last year. And for that, it'll take me a couple more years to get as in tune with it as I once was. But I'm still very much so looking forward to it.
Yeah, I didn't watch it that year. I refused to watch any of it that year. I went back and watched it last year. I will say this, it's lost something because there's certain things you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. For 20 years, it was deciding who got to host the World Series.
Mm-hmm.
So it gave me a reason to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
And then they went back to, it's not fair. Let's make it back to just an exhibition, and now it kind of falls flat because you don't have managers trying to win like they were before. See, when I was growing up as a kid, the National League wanted to beat the American League and vice versa just because they hated each other. It was about pride. Then it got kind of a lull in the late 90s, and they said, well, we got to make this mean something. So they made it mean something. And now they took it away, and then now once again it's turning into this lull. So stupid. One of the many, many stupid things that Rob Manfred has done.
Personally, I was a big fan of when they played for the World Series home field advantage. I know a lot of people would challenge me on that, but to me, that's what separated the MLB All-Star Game from the rest of them, was they were playing meaningful baseball, and you best bet those players on that team wanted to win for the National League, wanted to win for the American League.
Yeah, and I mean, it's the only All-Star game that resembles its sport and during the game, and that's why it's still the best. And it's like, it's up here and nothing's even close. Hockey's is bad. Basketballs has gotten really bad. They don't play defense anymore. Basketball at one point was second best. I don't know if there is second best because they're so bad. And then NFL, I don't even know what the hell. I don't even call that an all-star game. Just a bunch of dudes get together on a weekend.
You know why everyone knows those three are bad too? Because they've had to change formats over the years to try and keep interest in, because they've gotten so bad. Baseball, their game, besides the meaningful factor, has stayed the same. The All-Star game is the same now as it was 20 years ago in sense of viewership. What you're going to get in the first inning is what you're going to get in the ninth inning. And that's guys trying out there. That's guys trying to do good out there and playing for their All-Star teams.
Yeah, that's the big thing, is it still feels like they want to win. If it goes back to that lull again where it feels like nobody cares, then they're going to have to do something to. I don't want them to change the game. I want the guys to want to win. I still think they need to go back to when it was, 20 years, man. If you win, you host.
I think that's how it should be.
Yeah, it's fun, man. It's one extra game in the World Series. I don't give a crap. If it's not fair, then go win the game.
Cubs won the World Series on the road when they were down 3-1 in 2016. But you know what? After your guys playing that World Series game, you best bet your butt off if they're an all-star the next year. They're going to try that much harder in that all-star game knowing, hey, I could get an extra game at home. Not that I mind it on the road, but give me this all-star game and give me it now.
Update in Omaha, Tennessee and Stanford. By the way, why is this second game I've watched of Tennessee baseball? Why is it they're not wearing their colors? Saturday night they wore black unis. Tonight, this afternoon they're wearing charcoal gray, and it's not because Stanford's getting to wear the white ones. They're wearing a black uni themselves.
That's odd to me.
What's going on in Tennessee, man? Come on, dude. Wear your colors.
Maybe they borrowed all their orange.
It's 4-4 top of the seventh.
Wow.
Tennessee's tied it up 4-4, and Tennessee is batting. They are threatening, and so that's where it sits. And Stanford's going to the bullpen, so I'll keep all up to date as it goes along if something happens. Looks like Tennessee's going to take the lead. Believe it or not, Stanford had the defense back, so they were ground ball to short, scored a run. You do not see that anymore.
Nope. I do love that stuff. I love when the college kids are playing in those meaningful games.
Had they had the defense up, in other words, the infield in, at least halfway, that runner's not scoring from third. It was a direct shot to shortstop, but it was so far back he was not going to throw the guy out. That is odd.
That is odd.
This is a do or die. If you win, you go on. If you lose, 2 and barbecue, as they say. All right, brother, let's get into, with no further ado, the rambling wreck of Georgia Tech and a hell of an engineer. Still think that's one of the greatest lines in any sports, any chants in any sport.
I agree with that. The chant's better than the program often resembles.
Tell me how you really feel, man. All right. Georgia Tech football. So one of the reasons why we decided to lead the week off with this is a couple of things. Tomorrow we're going to do Louisville. Georgia Tech and Louisville are playing in Atlanta in the Peach Bowl Classic. That'll be Friday, September 1st. So a fun little game to get it going. And I did some research here on Georgia Tech, and This could be another long year, or this could be a heck of a season for Georgia Tech, because you look at the fact that they've got the 2 quarterbacks coming in who are going to be competing for the starting nod. And it's interesting to me that one publication is assuming that it is going to be Zach Pyron, and then the other publication has his counterpart getting the nod. So I don't know if we're really going to know who the starting quarterback is. But Brian Key took over as an interim head coach for Georgia Tech last year, and he ended up holding on to the job. But it's basically what it looks like it's going to be between the quarterback position is going to be between Haynes King or Zach Pyron.
And Pyron got his shot to show a little bit of his skill set last year before getting hurt for the season. So that's why they brought in Haynes King, the former big-time Texas A&M recruit, just in case if they look at Pyron and say, hey, man, you're healthy, but you're not looking that great to start. We're going to ease you back, and we're going to go with the Haynes King. So you're absolutely right. At this point, it's a coin flip, but not the worst quarterback situation in the world.
Yeah, Pyron got knocked out. I think it was the Miami game, broke his collarbone. So that's going to be a tricky situation there as far as the quarterback. And obviously we know in today's college football, by the way, they're heading to the bottom of the 7th. Tennessee leads 6-4 now in the College World Series. We'll keep you updated on that. So in today's college football, how the quarterback goes is how everybody goes, right?
Mm-hmm.
How the offense is going to go.
Mm-hmm.
So they've got some interesting questions out there on wide receiver as well. Their big play wide receiver, Leo Blackburn, tore his ACL. That was after coming off an injury.
Mm-hmm.
And so it looks like right now, from what I'm understanding, it's going to be between Rutherford, Leary, and then Jana out there at wide receiver. But what I suspect about Georgia Tech football this year, and then I'll throw it back to you, is that they are going to have a well-oiled offensive line. The head coach is an offensive line coach, right?
Mm-hmm.
I expect them to look. They played well for him, and from what I get from what happened last year is he kind of dumbed down everything and kind of slowed down the moving parts to where they're going to stick with their basic offense. And I do think he's going to get this year and probably next year to prove himself. I don't believe this is going to be a situation at Georgia Tech where they just held on to him for 1 year to try to clean the slate. I think until the athletic director kind of figures out which way they're going, he's going to get every opportunity in the world to win the next couple of years. So that helps you set your culture, as that's the famous buzzword nowadays, on how they want to build Georgia Tech. We'll get into their schedule in a second as far as how many games we think we're going to win. But what vibe are you getting from Georgia Tech football?
I'm getting a vibe that this is a team a little bit last year, kind of like a Florida International. I know Florida International, much smaller program, but they were kind of building that bowl team last year. That's kind of what Georgia Tech is doing this year. I think they're going to compete for a bowl berth, perhaps, right around that 5 to 7 win mark. We'll talk about their win possibilities here in a second. And I think that centers around their run game. Here's a couple wild running stats. Georgia Tech was 5-0 last season when they ran for more than 150 yards. They were 0-7 when they did not. And get this, McGee, September 3rd, 2016, that game against Boston College was the last time that Georgia Tech won a game when running for fewer than 150 rush yards. That's according to collegefootballnews.com. So Georgia Tech, a team that's really good in winning when they get over that 150-yard mark, hasn't won a game since 2016 when they run for less than 150 rushing yards. It's really something to keep an eye on if they could get their running game in tune. I do think it gets better this year. Like you said, their offensive line should be better. That means their run game should be more consistent. And then they get 2 key transfers in to help improve them defensively. So that should be really good for them this year, as they needed to bolster their defense a little bit. They get linebacker Braylon Oliver from Minnesota, who was kind of a thumper there, kind of a role player there. Now he gets his chance to shine in more of a prominent role. And Andre White from Texas A&M, again, another role player more so at A&M, comes over now and has this chance to start for this Georgia Tech defense. So between running the game, getting veteranship on defense, getting some experience on defense, and perhaps having a quarterback battle of 2 pretty good ball players, they haven't won their first game of the season since 2020. If they want a chance at a bowl game, it might really boil down to week 1 against Louisville, whether that's right, wrong, or indifferent.
Yeah, that game's going to be big for both programs. It's in Atlanta, so you got to give Georgia Tech the nod, but it's not that far from Louisville, so I do think the Cardinal fans will travel. I love the fact that it's a Friday night game. It's a neat way to kind of kick off the college football season. I know technically week 0 is the week before, and there's going to be like 5 or 6 games, but we've been over that. There's nothing to get excited about. Like why didn't we get this game in week 0, right? Like to me, this is a game that you could go, all right, I may not be a fan of either one of these schools, but at least it's a Power 5 conference going head to head in a big atmosphere. That needs to be the next step that college football needs to take, is that first weekend of the season, there's got to be less duds. There's got to be less dud games because that first week 0, if you're going to have 6 to 8 games, and us football fans will get excited about it, don't get me wrong, but I won't get as excited about it if I'm like, dude, every spread is 28.5 points, right?
Right. And I think although these will be big spreads as well, like you alluded to, I think the 3 games on the schedule that people will be a little pumped up for, but again, still will be big spreads. Navy, Notre Dame, Hawaii, Vanderbilt, San Jose State, USC. None of those have the stick like a Georgia Tech Louisville would, because at least
because Georgia Tech Louisville is probably going to be close to a pick 'em.
Exactly.
And let's be honest, if you're not a fan of a team, you're going to get into goes, hey, let's put some cheese on this, right?
I forget I forget what game it was, but Miami, like 4 or 5 years ago, they played on a week 0. It was a ranked against ranked opponent game. Since then, I can't remember a big barn burner on week 0. Louisville, Georgia Tech wouldn't be, the greatest thing since sliced bread, but it would give college football fans a very exciting matchup to sit on their couch on a Saturday night, coming off Navy, Notre Dame overseas, and really get themselves entrenched with the college football season.
Yeah, I haven't looked at it and compared it, but I got a funny feeling I'm watching the Braves that night. I just, I don't know what in the hell's going on. Actually, that's probably our fantasy football draft weekend. So I could be doing that night, but regardless, because it drives you nut. No, I'm sorry. That's the August 26th. So there's nothing going on that weekend. The following weekend, I think we're doing the fantasy football draft. It's still so stupid that Florida State LSU is not going to be the Saturday night. They're going to do it on Sunday night again. And it'd be one thing if you had like some big clash to get you excited. There's not an enormous clash like because FSU LSU, that's going to be a top 10 showdown.
I will say they did finally learn their one thing, although I agree with you, they should have put better appetizers on, but at least they put a couple appetizers on. This is the first Sunday I could remember that they actually have games on before the Sunday night game. At least you get Northwestern Rutgers and Oregon State, San Jose State, but until then, the LSU-FSU matchup, all eyes on that.
The only time they got it right in week 0, as they call it, was the first time that they called it week 0. Miami and Florida played. That was fun. It was the beginning of the season, and you didn't have to watch preseason football. You got to watch a college football game. That was fun. And then that's the only year that they've done that. And it was actually a pretty decent game. Pretty sure Florida won, but it wasn't like some kind of, thumping. That's also, I do also remember something else about that night. Well, there's actually a couple of bad things. Well, there's something bad I remember about that night, but that was the night that I got the call that Big E was in a bad way. But that's also the night that Neckbeard retired. Andrew Luck.
Couple notable things.
Because I was over at a buddy's house to watch that Florida Miami game. And then I got the bad news about Big E. And then out of nowhere, Neckbeard retired. I'm like, all this information coming at me way too fast. Like, what the hell? But
yeah, I remember I was at a wedding that night, and I remember the Andrew Luck thing and a couple others vividly. So crazy night. Some things last forever in your memory.
All right, well, let's get into the Georgia Tech schedule and jotting it down here to see how we fare next at the end of the season. We'll go back and look and laugh at some of these, right? All right. Versus Louisville in Atlanta. Man, I'm going to take Georgia Tech to win that one. I think,
and that's their path to a bowl game right there. It really is.
It could be.
I got them as well.
South Carolina State. Then they're at Ole Miss. They're at Wake Forest. Bowling Green. At Miami. At home against BC and Carolina. At Virginia. At Clemson. And then at home against Syracuse and Georgia.
You figure Syracuse, Boston College, Bowling Green, and South Carolina State, you figure they can go 4-0 there. Then you figure they could probably sneak one away against either North Carolina or Virginia. And then it really comes down to the Louisville game for 6 wins and a bowl chance opportunity.
So we're saying South Carolina State's a win. We're saying Bowling Green's a win.
Mm-hmm. I think Boston College and Syracuse are wins as well.
Because they're at home. Is that what you're
thinking? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And then the the Boston.
I've been beating Louisville because it's basically a home game. And Louisville is still a mess right now.
Exactly. And that Boston College game comes off a bye week after they're at Miami. Then they have a bye week. Then they have back-to-back home games, Georgia Tech, Boston College, Georgia Tech, North Carolina. They could win those as well.
So if we have them beating South Carolina State, Bowling Green, Boston College, and Syracuse,
mm-hmm.
and if you believe that they can beat Louisville, they only need one more win to make a bowl game.
Mm-hmm.
And the Ole Miss is going to be tough. At Wake Forest should be pretty good, but remember, they just lost their quarterback to Notre Dame, so who knows what you're going to get out of them. Miami is still in a complete shambles and in a rebuild. Virginia has never put up a lot of points to where you're like scared going in there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to give them much of a chance to beat Georgia. It is the only caveat I will say is this. It is a rivalry game, and anything can happen in a rivalry game, but Georgia would have to be overlooking them flat.
Or have a big injury or something.
But it is not between the hedges, so a little bit of advantage there.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess my point is, if we think they can beat Louisville, they only need one more win. I got them in a bowl game this year. What about you?
Yeah, I got them right at 6 wins, McGee, and I got them at a bowl game, the Little Caesars Bowl, or there's a couple good ones, Hawaii Bowl, something along those lines. And those bowl games would be very happy to have a program like Georgia Tech represented them.
All right, so I'm going to put bowl down that we both think they're going to get in a bowl game, and
I'm predicting 6 wins in a bowl game.
Yeah, I think they get the minimum 6. You know, in a perfect world, maybe 7.
Mm-hmm.
You never know. If they can pull off the unthinkable against the Bulldogs, we're talking 8, but that's a big time. But if you look at their ACC schedule, it's not that daunting.
No, and I think Syracuse takes a step back this year. They got off to a hot start last year. Clemson, they're still really good, but they haven't been
Clemson. But I mean,
they're not as elite as they once were.
They're not beating Clemson. They're not beating Georgia.
But North Carolina is very winnable. Boston College, very winnable.
They're probably not going to beat Ole Miss.
Mm-hmm.
But those are the only 3 teams on their schedule that I would say that they have no shot at beating. The thing about Georgia Tech is I think it's going to be a very conservative attack, and they're going to try to beat you in the fourth quarter. And if you can play a clean game, you got a chance. By the way, a buddy of mine went to the Nashville Sounds game yesterday where they beat the Braves AAA team
in
a walk-off, and that pitcher got traded to the Oakland A's right after the game.
Oh, man.
For cash considerations. But he said that Vaughn Grissom was playing shortstop. He went 1 for 4, and he had an error. So, anyone that thinks that dude's coming up and unseating anybody anytime soon, think again.
Man, and he had a promising, hope coming into the year, but since he hasn't really panned out too well, hopefully Vaughn could get it going.
It's years, man. Like they need to go put him in another position, get him ready to rock, and have him as a trade chip. That would be the best thing could happen for Vaughn Grissom.
I couldn't agree with you more, brother. I think that would be a very good thing for them.
Put that guy back where he belongs at second. He played a very good second base. He's not going to unseat Ozzie Albies. We know that. But give him an opportunity to flourish there. And hey, maybe you don't trade him. Maybe you just get him ready for when Ozuna becomes a free agent and you don't want to try to re-sign him again.
Yeah, and the thing with that is at least it's good having depth, right? You know, he ain't going to crack either of the guys you just mentioned, Albies or Arcia. But at the end of the day, if one of them do get hurt or something, hey, you do have the Vaughn Grisham option.
What is your lock of the day, sir?
Well, we're kind of forced to go in the field of baseball here, although I never mind going in the field of baseball. And I'm going to go with the team that's been playing better lately, in my opinion, or at least they have been in the world of baseball. I'm going with, let's see, let me make sure the line hasn't changed yet because it was hovering right around our thing. Yes, it's good to go. I'm going with the Detroit Tigers, minus 150. Home against the Kansas City Royals tonight. That's 6:40 Eastern time. The Tigers are right at that cap of minus 150.
That's a good one. I gave this stat out earlier. The Kansas City Royals are 0-14 when Jordan Lyles is on the mound. He's 0-9 or 0-11, one of the two. But they're 0-14.
He's been terrible this year.
Reese Olson's from Gainesville, Georgia. He pitched against Atlanta. He's got a high ERA, but I did that game. He looked pretty good until the third time through the lineup.
Yeah, and he looked really good in his first two starts as well. So, you know, Braves are a tough one to put out for more than too long.
I'll tell you someone else that I'm excited to watch tonight because I've only heard about him. I've not watched him. Your game, the Cubs and the Pirates, Osvaldo Bido is on the mound. They're underdogs getting plus money. That's an interesting one. I would be really tempted to take Pittsburgh plus the 1.5 on the minus 140. But I've already given my lock earlier, so I'll stick with that. But I do like that one. Smiley hasn't pitched that well the last couple of times out. That Cubs might win, but I would like to have that 1.5 in my pocket. Where is it at? The line was 8.5. I just got to find the time frame on it. There it is. The Boston Red Sox, Minnesota Twins under is 8.5. Banging the under. Have they changed? They've changed. Wow. They changed the pitchers. Where's that? Oh, that's tomorrow. That's why. Never mind. I'm on the wrong damn night. I was like, what the? Here we go. It's still 8.5. James Paxton and Pablo Lopez.
I like the under there.
This one for a couple of reasons. A, Minnesota doesn't hit lefties. Paxton's looked pretty good his last few times. Pablo Lopez is on the mound, and the Boston Red Sox are coming off a double header. Sunday Night Baseball. They're going to be dragging butt. You walk off, you got 10 seconds.
If you can, join the Buccateers program tonight. Anthony Gator, former Bucs, joins the show. So happy to have him. All
right, brother. Enjoy your vacay. We'll see you next time. And keep it locked in here on the Key. The Snow Show is next. And then tonight, 6:30 or 6:35 first pitch. Chattahoots, baby. Give a hoot. Pull for the Chattahoots.
Woo!
We'll see manana live 3 to 5, and we're doing Braves Country Baseball all week long. So get strapped in.
Let's go.
Goodbye, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go. We're back tomorrow with another show. Well, unless we're fired, we'll talk to you then. Goodbye, sweetheart. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Guys and gals, it's time to go. We'll see you on the next show.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Thanks for listening to Braves Country with Mac Magee and the Armchair Quarterbacks on 99.1 FM WQEE, The Key in Noonan, Georgia, and simulcasting on youtube.com/@Braves Country. Braves Country comes your way weekdays, 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern. Please follow, like, and subscribe today. Armchair Quarterback Radio. your first choice for Southern sports.
Something of the 5th of September. Something of the 5th of September. She said a lot that I can't remember. Something of the 5th. Can I get another cigarette, please? Can I get another cigarette, please? Yeah, I know I live to regret it. Just give me another cigarette, please. Can I get another cigarette, please?
You're listening to WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia.